why I'm telling you all these runways is I was a very normal fashion designer who was attracted by the glitz and glamour of fashion, who was very much attracted by the runways and red carpets, dressing the stars. A teacher who spoke to me about sustainable fashion and what fashion is doing to this earth. That is when, after like having a career of 5 to 6 years already in fashion, that is when it kind of struck me hard that,
Welcome to the Climapreneur show, Vinu. And I'm not even kidding. But I already feel like a celebrity doing this today.
no, 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 I'm just another another designer who wants to make this world a better place. That's all it is about.
No, I've been reading about you like lately, and like seriously, it's amazing, amazing.
Thank you so much. I think, actually, being a sustainable fashion designer, right? It's a very tough task. And not many people understand what you're talking about, and there is not encouragement also. So, such words mean a lot to us.
Okay, so tell us your story, Vinu. The story of an amazing, sustainable fashion designer, Vinu Supraja.
Vinu Supraja was not initially a sustainable fashion designer. She was
Uh
an
huh.
architect. So I studied architecture and then I studied media as well. And I was working in television and radio. So it took me to China at that point when I had a career of 5 years in TV and radio as a television presenter and as a radio jockey. So when I moved to China, I couldn't do anything regarding media, right? Because I didn't speak the language. So then I chose to study something, and I couldn't find many options, to even to study because all the websites were in Chinese. So when I was looking for something, I was desperate not to waste my time in China. So I found this fashion school called IFA Paris. It's a French fashion school. They had their campus in Shanghai as well. That's where I studied fashion. But it was more of a couture training, it was not got nothing to do with sustainable fashion or anything. My graduation collection won a couple of international awards, and then it got featured in Vogue of China, Elle of China,
Wow.
it was Shanghai Fashion Week, and all these happened. And then I had to move to the US to Detroit. Maybe if I had moved to, at that point, I felt if I had moved to LA or New York, I would got more opportunities because those are the fashion hubs. But I had to move to Detroit. But that worked out well for me because if I had moved to LA or New York, I would have been lost in the ocean of fashion there. So because Detroit only had handful of designers, I was noticed, and I had my little home studio, and I my collection walked the ramp to New York Fashion Week and Brooklyn Fashion Week. Why I'm telling you all these runways is I was a very normal fashion designer who was attracted by the glitz and glamour of fashion, who was very much attracted by the runways and red carpets, dressing the stars. But then, when I moved to Dubai from the US, I went to college again to SMOR and I studied my post graduation in fashion marketing. That's when a teacher who spoke to me about sustainable fashion and what fashion is doing to this earth. That is when, after like having a career of 5 to 6 years already in fashion, that is when it kind of struck me hard that, I'm part of an industry that is doing so much harm to this earth, and I'm totally not bothered about it, and I am very much attracted to the glamour of the industry, and I'm very much excited by the, all the fame and name, the runways and everything. So I don't know. I felt very guilty, so I started reading more about it, and it was kind of a transformation from inside. So I decided to become. It was a very conscious decision. Definitely, it was not an easy decision, but yeah, it became my way of life. It's not just a profession anymore. So that's my story.
So, what is sustainable fashion to you? Like, what is it?
See, you actually cannot define sustainable fashion as in few sentences. It's a very, I would say, it's a very vague umbrella, and you know what? Nobody can claim themselves to be 100% sustainable because it's a continuous journey, and uh, you know, our the scientists who we had earlier, they have found this brilliant material called plastic earlier. It's so difficult for us now to find an alternative for that material called plastic because it has mingled in many aspects of our lives, you know. We are kind of like, personally, I am kind of like, you know, trying to be more sustainable than my previous collection every time, than my yesterday, you know, that it's a continuous journey. So sustainable fashion according to me is like, I trying to avoid creating harm to this globe in any possible way. You know, I won't say like totally completely trying to avoid, in some way, you know, by either by buying sustainable clothing, or by buying less, or by even sewing your garments that's already torn and re-wearing it, or by repeating garments. So, or even by changing your mindset or living a minimal life. I would say sustainable fashion is not one single agenda. It's more to do with your mindset change, and it's. I think it's more like, it sounds like a spiritual journey. No, it is actually. That's the.
No, you're right. It's like just being better than yesterday. Even if you're 1% better,
Yeah.
it's you're still doing something. So, like as you would have also like seen, you've traveled the world, and we always get this thing that sustainable fashion is a luxury.
Mm.
So, like, do you think that sustainable fashion is a luxury? And if it is, how can it be made affordable? How can it be made the new normal, I would say?
See, sustainable fashion is unfortunately luxury. You know why? If you see the inflation, right? The money part, the economy part of the world, the price of everything has increased. Be it real estate or automobiles or anything, the price of everything has increased. But if you see in fashion, if the prices has increased proportionally to the other things around you, no. If the prices of all the fashion garments that we buy had increased proportionally to real estate, or to, as I told you, to everything around us, it would have been the same price what you're paying for sustainable fashion. Just because the garment industry was always, I mean, the garment industry has been crushing the workers for us to get those garments on sale or on cheaper price. The garments are around us are all now available and affordable, so sustainable fashion looks like it's a luxury, but that's the actual true cost that you are supposed to pay for a garment. It is not luxury, it is the genuine price that that garment demands. We get garments for cheaper price because people are not paying the garment workers enough. That's the reason. So every time, if anybody thinks that sustainable fashion is a luxury, no, that is the true cost of all the garments that you're buying. You have been paying less, and there is a garment worker sitting behind a sewing machine, crying and working day and night for you to pay less.
Like talking about this, I came across your Meet the Maker series.
Mhm.
And like it was really inspirational. So what was your inspiration behind it? Like why did you create that series in the first place?
See, every year, the month of April is the Fashion Revolution month, and after the Rana Plaza incident that happened in Bangladesh, uh, so every year this is the Meet the Makers is what all the sustainable fashion brands try to do every year, because we want the workplace to be transparent to the end customer. People have to see how we are treating our workers, our weavers, our tailors, you know, and we want them to know that they have been paid fair, so that that luxury money that you are paying to buy garments from us, you have to feel that it's worth it, you know. If my weaver has to sit and weave in such a comfortable place, in an eco-friendly green building, and she's smiling and she's talking weaving has changed her life, if that smile has to appear on her face, you will have to pay the price. So this is like a global thing that happens every year in the month of April. When I was thinking, what can I do, in a different way for showing my workplace and my viewers to the customers, I thought let's treat them as celebrities and take their interviews. And personally, I don't believe in hiring influencers because they don't share the same values many times. You pay them or you give them your garments and then they take pictures and then they post. That's all about it. They don't stand for anything. That's my personal, there are people getting gurus who say that influencer marketing works. But for me personally, I think they don't, it doesn't make sense to me, you know. So for me, if you ask me, these weavers, these tailors, these people are my influencers. I promote them to my customers. And then if they decide to buy my garments because they let them buy.
And it's beautiful, like the way you said that if your weaver is smiling, I feel like, when we are wearing smiles if we do this entire process.
Exactly, exactly. See, they usually say, right, like when you cook, uh, if you're cooking with all happiness and love, it shows in the food. And if you're angry and sad while cooking, that also shows in the food. Similarly, I feel everything around you carries some kind of energy. So the energy of the person who is sewing will also get into the garment that you're wearing.
That's a beautiful concept, actually. The energy of the person who is sewing, and you're wearing the same energy.
Yes, you have to wear the garments that are made with love, not with anger or tears or
Right.
pain.
So, like how has, say, working with these local artisans, like have had an impact on you? Because you have been into this community and working with them. Do you think that they have had kind of an impact on you?
Oh, yes, of course. See, the first time when I met them, right? I didn't know where I was going because unfortunately, sustainable fashion industry is not organized enough yet. There is no one proper portal where you can go and find all the weavers in India or anywhere in the world, and then you can find the right one. But it's not like that. A little hunt that you have to do to find the right place for you. This place, it's a small village called Chennimalai near Erode in South India. I came across their website. It was good, and I spoke to them over phone. I just took my tech pack, the files that we give for garment manufacturers. I just took my tech pack, put it on my backpack, and then I left.
How has these local artisans like sort of inspired you working with them? Did they have kind of an impact on you?
They definitely had a major impact on me. Actually, the first time when I found them, it was a little difficult to find them actually because unfortunately, sustainable fashion sourcing for a sustainable fashion brand is not as easy as sourcing for a normal brand because we have so many artisans around us, but they don't even have a proper website. There are so many talents around you, but they don't know how to put it on a platform and showcase that to the world. So I found this website. Luckily, these group of weavers in a small village called Chennimalai near road in Tamil Nadu. They had a website, and I spoke to them, and then I went there. While going, I had no idea about how the place is going to be, how the city is going to be. I've never been there. So I just packed some clothes and then I took my tech pack and I left for like 3 weeks. I told my I will be back. I am going to an unknown land. I am from Tamil Nadu, but then I have never been to even
Yeah.
Chennai and I was coming from Dubai. So I went there, I met them, and what was giving me so much, happiness. They were all so warm and welcoming, and it's only us urban people who find a professional relationships and personal relationships. It's not like that for them. They are all this small group of people living in village, and they treat you. I mean, I have my weavers who treat me as my daughters. They fed me their home cooked food. Fed me, literally fed me in my mouth, and And they told me their stories and they asked about me, and I was working with them on an everyday basis. It was a beautiful experience. It was more like a, you kind of cleanse yourself from inside when you are around such innocent people for some time, right? You kind of feel like this is real happiness, and this is real luxury actually. Fresh air and nice workplace, smiling faces around, and loving people around. What else do you need? So that really had a major impact on me, and I felt like going back there again and again.
So, like in that moment, did you feel like, whatever you are doing on whatever journey you are in, like it's worth it? Because, everyone is ultimately searching for that content, for this happiness.
Exactly. That's the main, just in search of that happiness, that is when I shifted my path to sustainable fashion. And I think I have found my happiness when I am among those artisans and weavers and their work of art. Oh, just immerse yourself in art and get lost in art. And that is ecstasy. Personally, that's what I feel. It's wonderful. Yeah. Every time I go there, I just love the place, love the people, and love the work they do.
Mm-hmm. So, like, what is sustainable fashion to artisans? Like, do they like understand what sustainable fashion is?
Artisans who work with brands like us, they do understand, because they are associated with us, and then they see what are the aspects that we are looking at, and we interact, we ask them certain questions, so they kind of know what we are talking about. But there are several viewers who have never worked with sustainable brands, and those people have no idea what they are doing. They don't even know to market themselves, and they just know that as an art that has been done by their forefathers, and that has been done by them. I'm not sure if their kids will continue doing it, but they do it passionately. But they don't know the so-called sustainable and ethical terms that we are using. They just do their job, they love it, they do it, that's it.
So like because you have built yourself from scratch, and as you told, not once but like many times. How do you like feel about it, like starting things from scratch?
Starting things from scratch kind of humbles you, brings you down every time when you think you are you are up in the sky, and it kind of keeps you grounded, rooted, and it kind of tells you what is real, and what is the illusion that we are running behind. And you cannot develop a big ball of ego around you when you keep starting from scratch again and again. There is no ego called me associated to you, because every time you go to a new place and start from scratch, you are nobody knows you, and nobody knows what you have done in the past, and nobody knows what you have achieved before. You have to again prove yourself. But doing it again and again, I just realized that there is no point in proving yourself to anybody. Why would you even prove to yourself to somebody? Just enjoy the journey, and do what you like, and enjoy the process. That's it. And you need not prove something to this world or something to the people around you. Just job every day and enjoy doing it. That's it.
What inspires you? Like you sound like there's something from your inside that coming in, and that there is something that is keeping you moving. So like, what is your inspiration?
I draw my inspiration from people around me. I cannot name one person as an inspiration, but there are many around me. From each one of them, I find something or the other inspiring. And especially because I was moving around the world, I met so many people, and even my profession, even before I started moving around, I mean, even in India, I have interviewed so many people for radio and television, and somehow the design of my life is such that I meet a lot of people. I make a lot of friends wherever I go. And there is something or the other for me to take from each one of them. Somebody inspires me for their non-stop learning, even at the age of 60s and 70s. somebody inspires me, by the way they are grounded even after achieving such great things. So, for example, Gandhi, let's Mahatma Gandhi, he's a huge inspiration. Not just because he fought for our freedom or independence, or uh, he spoke about khadi, or not just that. He inspires me in a way that, he was very stubborn about what he wanted in life. He wanted independence, so come what may, he wanted it. He will go on hunger strike, he will walk for miles together, he will do whatever, but he wanted what he wanted, even at the age of, late 70s and 80s, right? He never got tired. He was working until his last day of life. The tireless work towards your destination, that inspires me. And yeah, so I kind of draw my inspiration from people around me. That's what it is.
So, like, when you were, say, at the age of 20, did you imagine a life like this for yourself? Did
Hey,
you,
no
like,
way. I belong to a very small town. Okay, it's called it's called Vandavasi. You must be knowing Kanchipuram, the very famous silk city of India. It's near Kanchipuram. It's a small town, and I speak good English. And I studied in a government school. I moved to Chennai, which is a city, to do my architecture. And even after I did architecture, I never had any great, ambitions to achieve or anything. I was always a happy-go-lucky person, and I never dream about my future. I don't know. I think it's a good thing only, right? I mean,
enjoying the present?
enjoying the moment and then taking life as it comes. But
Yeah.
one thing what I find good about myself is that I never say no to any opportunity that comes my way. I just grab it and then give it a try. It may be a hit or flop. Never mind. Just try it at least.
So, like, what have been your biggest challenges in your life? Like,
Adaptation, because I have been moving again around here and there, all the places. Adapting to a new place. See, for example, when I moved to China, hmm, nobody knew my language. Nobody ate my food. Nobody even looked like me. Everything was different. Nobody could understand what I want. Even the sign language was different there. After 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, they don't show it the same way with fingers as we show. It had different signs. Everything was different. I had to kind of, it's like a new birth, literally. You have to learn every single thing. You have to, adapt yourself to the food and to the even air. Yeah, China, back then, it was Shanghai was polluted. Shanghai was cold. I was never used to such cold weather. So adapting myself to a new place, and you don't have friends in a new place. Nobody. You have to make new friends, and you have to find the right friends who matches with your wavelength. That's very important, no? So you have no friends, and you can't watch your movies there. Nothing. So every place has, I take almost a year to get used to a new place, and that 1 year is a real struggle for me. Real struggle. I will honestly agree. That 1 year I cry a lot. I yell at my family, why have you done this to me? Because it's quite common. I mean, every woman, I think they will understand this. Going to a new place and then managing everything alone. So that first 1 year is always a struggle, and then I somehow find my way. Being street smart and find do something, enjoy the process of exploring the new place. After a year of cribbing and struggling, then I switch myself to the exploring mode. So then I get excited because once you start to explore, it's fun because you find so many new things. Then you make new friends, and so uh, for example, when I when I move to every new city, okay, I will not know where I should buy needle and thread. Very simple. I am a designer. I will not know where I have to buy, where I can buy a button, where to buy fabric, where to, all these basics. In China, even worse, I didn't even know how to ask for a needle in their language. So it's little frustrating initially, and then you kind of accept the fact that you are going to live there for some time, and then you start to
Right.
explore, learn, and try to mingle. And in the end, you feel very bad that you are coming out of that country. When I left China, I missed that place after leaving. After leaving. So yeah, it's a
I
cycle.
I can totally understand this. Like when I left London, I had a similar like feeling. So, okay, so one question that I ask all my guests is, so if you had to like, start all over again, what would you do differently now?
My life is a wild roller coaster,
Wow.
and I enjoy this journey. So, see, we have been like what talking now for the past half an hour, right? And you have heard my story now. You know what all I've done in my life.
Yeah.
Why would I undo all these excitement and fun? I enjoy this, yeah. I will not change it.
This is the perfect answer to it. Like, beautiful. Okay. So, like, there are a lot of people out there who are pursuing other subjects but want to go into a field of fashion or want to shift to sustainable fashion. And even yesterday only, I was having like a talk with someone. She wanted to do something into sustainable fashion. So, do you have any advice for these people?
Yeah. See, sustainable fashion may sound fancy because it's very trendy now. It has unfortunately become a trend. But I'm telling you, if you are really serious about this, it's a tough path. Things are not easy here. Starting from sourcing to production to selling to making people understand what you're selling, things are not easy. It's going to be a rough journey. Please brace yourself and be prepared.
So, like having talked about this, like talking about the rough journey. So, like, did you have any incidences from your own journey?
Every day there is an incident.
Tell us something, please.
Because convincing conventional customer is very difficult. As you already asked, they find sustainable fashion very expensive, and they find they don't understand that it's made out of cotton. They don't understand that you have to, because it's not as easy as polyester to maintain, right? So answering their questions and making them understand why it is expensive and educating the market, everything is a challenge, and every customer is different. Not everyone understands. Some are educated, some are people who come to you because they want to buy sustainable fashion. There are people who come to you because your clothes are nice and your clothes are colorful. There are people who come to you because they found some celebrity wearing your garment, and not even knowing celebrity, and they come to you. I mean, I respect all of them, but I think as a brand, as a designer, it's my duty to educate everyone before they buy a garment from me. I have to tell them what is special about the garment, and I have to sell that to them, so that I not only sell my garment, I also sell this concept called sustainable fashion to a person. And this involves a lot of patience. You just have to keep playing in the field. It's like playing football. The ball will not be with you all the time. Ball will come to you when it's your time. Until then, you just have to be in the field and keep yourself fit, because only then when the ball comes to you, you can hit a goal.
Right.
So that,
Just waiting for the right time.
exactly, that patience is it really tests. It's not easy. So every day, I also speak to a lot of students. I love talking to students. So I give a lot of I address a lot of students in many colleges. And there as well the questions come about, why it is expensive and why I should not buy polyester. And educating is talking about the same thing over and over again. Some people find it boring, I'm being very frank with you. Talking about the same thing and facing the same questions again and again. But again, I draw my inspiration from Gandhi. He spoke a same concept, and he went to village after village after village. There was no social media back then. He just went to every single village by walk on his foot, and he spoke about the same thing over and over again. People laughed at him when he started. And what happened in the end? That kind of perseverance and that kind of patience is what is required for someone who is coming into sustainable fashion.
And as you said, sustainable fashion is sort of a spiritual journey. It's about living consciously, and as we also discussed about, wearing smile, that aura, because I feel that it does something to you on an inner basis.
True, very true. It gives a happiness,
It is.
genuine happiness.
Correct. So, like, what is the one thing that you would like to tell everyone who wants to be a change maker? Like, I come across a lot of people, they say that I want to be the change, I want to do something. So, like, do you have something to tell to these people?
There are two types of change makers, okay? One can aspire to become a change maker, like, again, I would quote that old man called Mahatma Gandhi, like him, who brings in a change on a on a bigger level, on a higher level with masses. You can aim to be, but that will need a lot of sacrifice from you. And there's another type which everyone can do, which is changing yourself. So if you want to bring in a change, just look around you and what are the things that you can change around you, and first change yourself. What are the little tiny steps that you can take towards that change, and try to change the people just around you, just your family, or your siblings family, or your talk to your workers, and just bring in a change in a small pocket. That's that's still a change. It will end up in a collective bigger change. So there are two types of changes. If you want to become a change maker, and if you are ready to sacrifice many things, and if you are ready to go big, please go ahead and do it. If not, if you think, I have my family, I have my children, I cannot leave them and go talk here and there all the time, I don't have my resources, I don't have time and energy, fine, no worries, you're no less. Please make that change in yourself. That's enough. That's also change. So which way you want to go, it's up to you.
Like, truly said, So, like, out of curiosity, my last question to you would be, like, when I see your designs, I don't know, I just somehow see a reflection of Indian culture and a great influence of Indian tradition. So, like, is it something that you focus on, or like it is like, is it just me who is like seeing that?
No, see, you know what? I'm a designer and I'm an artist as well. So I express myself in my garments. My approach towards the design is, I first design my fabric. I first design my textile and translate the textile into a garment. It is not that I design a shirt and then I sit and think what print should go on it. No. I first make my art, and I think what garment can that art look better on, and then I make that garment. So when I'm making art first, art is nothing but expression of oneself, right? So I have my roots strongly rooted in this country. I am a village girl. I have seen lots of culture around me. I am from Kanchipuram, and I have seen colors, and I'm still a very traditional small town girl inside. So I have seen big runways and all those stuff. I'm still a small town girl inside. So when I'm expressing myself as an art, it will of course reflect me, right? So you cannot avoid, when you're expressing yourself, when you're making a piece of art, you cannot try to be something else and make art. it will be your own self expression. So obviously, whatever I do reflects who I am. If it looks that my designs have a lot of Indian influence, that is because I myself as a personality, I have a lot of Indian influence. That is translated on the garments.
Right, like firstly, like thank you so much, but I would like to say that you're touching so many lives, by just being a change, by being this beautiful person. You're like so humble, so down to earth, and I honestly, I feel so grateful. I feel like honored from the core of my heart to have had this episode with you. Like I would say, just keep inspiring us. This episode somewhere is also special to me because, as we discussed earlier, even we are stepping into the world of sustainable fashion. And seeing people like you, it gives us like so much courage and so much inspiration to just keep moving.
Thank you so
Like,
much, Shweta.
thank you.
It was lovely talking to you, and do great things. Okay, keep me posted on what you're doing, and if I can be of any help, please feel free to get in touch. If you're feeling little low, and if you're struggling or something, call me. I will also have my low times and self doubts. Let us rant together.
This means so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.